Yeah, there's
the World Wide Web.
yeah, the World Wide Web and beyond, actually, as our radiations are going out that far. So, anyhow, I'd just like to start the day with some gratitude for my wonderful wife and mother of my children. So, thank you, Kathy. And for all the rest of the mothers in the world and mother figures and people who take care of,
too.
yeah, dog mothers.
Yes.
There's a bunch. So thank you all. But we'd like to get it started with a song called "This Is the Day," like every Sunday, and we'd like you to join and rise us up. Rise us up
Rise
with the
up.
song.
Yeah,
So
let us hear ya.
if you're ready.
I'm ready. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day to receive joy. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. Thank you for taking time out of your busy life to stop, slow down, and honor the truth of who you are. And we're so grateful that you have come here to be a part of our community on this day, whether it's here in person, online watching now, or down the road at some other time, that it's all this time we come together. And I am so grateful for your willingness to honor yourself in that way and to gift us with your presence. So today, Kathy Royer is our practitioner, and she will be available for prayer afterward. There's also a prayer box in the back on the altar there, also out at home space. One thing that the practitioners love to do is to pray. So please give us the privilege of doing that for you. So let's say our our mission statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. And so it is. And the announcements can be found in the bulletin, weekly bulletin. Are there any specific ones? I didn't even think of that. We didn't. Well, so the announcements are in the bulletin. There's always fun things going on. Oh, yes. Susan's teaching a visioning class starting May 23rd. Yes. Yes, and it is one of the more fascinating spiritual principles that we teach. So please do take advantage of that. It's a great opportunity.
I think there's food today.
And is it dining with the dudes? Are the dudes here? Oh, excellent. So dining with the dudes. See, I don't need written announcements. Y'all will keep me honest. So, there's always plenty of ways to engage, and so please take the opportunity to do so. So at this point, let's just have the Bradfords help us settle and go within.
So just take a deep breath. Relax as we move within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
Love, light, beauty, peace, health, prosperity. All aspects of the one divine, the one essence that permeates all there is, all there ever has been, and all there ever will be. And this divineness is in each of us and expresses through us as us, lives and has its being through us, shows up always exactly when we need it. And we are that truth, that this is who we are. And this is what we show forth. And I would like to say a word of blessing for the Bradfords and their wonderful music that always, always lifts us up, brings us together, makes us feel good. And a word of blessing for Reverend Karen and her divine message today that teaches us, that gives us these nuggets of gifts that we get to take with us and share and teach others. And I just know that right here, right now, this service is exactly the way it is supposed to be. It is perfect, whole, and complete. And I just release this into the law knowing that it is done. And together we say, and so it is. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so today I have The Golden Key by Emmett Fox. I don't know if anybody knows who Emmett Fox is, but he was a New Thought person back. He was around when Ernest Holmes lived. Thank you, 1930s. Glad you knew that. I didn't. I knew he was around sometime. And this little Golden Key, the Golden Key is the first chapter in the book, but the rest of it is all his essays. And they're very to the point, and it's not really a hard read. I do suggest if you want to have some really different New Thought ideas, you read it. Okay, and the essay I'm going to read today is called Now You Must Do It. The only part of our religion that is real is the part we express in our daily lives. Ideals that we do not act out in practice are mere abstract theories and have no real meaning. Actually, such pretended ideals are a serious detriment because they drug the soul into a false sense of security. If you want to receive any benefit from your religion, you must practice it. And the place to practice it is right here where you are now. Divine law is the only real power. If you can realize this fact, even dimly, it will begin to heal and harmonize every condition in your life within a few hours. The way to realize this fact is to express it in every word you speak, in every business transaction, in every social activity, and in fact, in every phase of your life. An early New Thought writer said, "Knead love into the bread you bake. Wrap strength and courage in the parcel you tie for the woman with the weary face. Hand trust and candor with the coin you pay to the man with suspicious eyes." This is beautifully said, and it sums up the practice of the presence of God. God is right here, right now. And so it is.
I woke up this morning and I thought, this is the song. It felt so joyful. I'm just so grateful for being a mom. It's a beautiful morning. I think I'll go outside for a while and just smile, just breathing some clean, fresh air. No sense in staying inside if the weather's fine and you got the time. It's your chance to wake up and plan another brand new day. Either way, it's a beautiful morning. Each bird just keeps singing its own song. So long, I've got to be on my way now. No fun just hanging around. I've got to cover ground. You couldn't keep me down. It just ain't no good if the sun shines and you're still inside. Shouldn't hide. Ooh, sing that with me. Ooh, let's do that again. Seems to me that the people keep seeing more and more each day. Lead the way, Spirit guiding every day. Ooh, let's do that again. Ooh, it's a beautiful morning.
It is a beautiful morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, you did multiply in the dark. That was lovely of you. I do appreciate it when that happens. So happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers who have attended to that really complicated 24/7, that work that comes with rearing children. We're grateful to have a child in the sanctuary this morning, and we're grateful to that mother energy. And I'm always aware on Mother's Day that there are people who do not find this a very comfortable day. You know, if you didn't have a good relationship with your mom, you might not be crazy about this holiday, or vice versa. If you and your kids don't get along, this could be a struggle of a day for you. There are certainly people who wanted to be parents and were unable to do that. And, you know, I am blessed to have in my life several women who chose not to have that experience of motherhood. So I see that it's just this big conglomeration of lots of ideas. And so I want to pull it together by recognizing that there is that thread of the feminine, the nurturing mother in all of us, in men and in women, and that what we can do today in order to make this a respectable experience in honoring mothers is to choose wisely in the way we honor that nurturing energy of motherhood. For certainly, each and every one of us has brought projects into being and ideas into fulfillment. So we're grateful to look at it in this way. We don't want to miss the significance of something that really had a good intention, because truly motherhood, I had 4 kids. Well, I still have 4 kids. And a lot of grandkids and great-grands. And it does go a bit unappreciated, especially if you're thinking you're going to get the feedback right from the kids. It's like, that's not necessarily going to. If you're still hoping for a phone call, just know you're probably not alone. There are others of us in the room that may or may not be acknowledged today. But that's not what the day is about. The day in terms of the bigger perspective, as I have outlined here, is for us to see that and reflect on that nurturing maternal gift that is sometimes brought to the world through that act of mothering. So I get an image of when I create a scenario like that, I get an image in my mind. I'm an old childbirth educator, and you know, my life was always about babies and pregnancies, and that was an important part of who I was as a younger woman. And so I always see an image in my mind in such a discussion of a woman sitting in a rocking chair. Gosh, I had the greatest bent wood rocking chair. It was so lovely. It was so fun to have that beautiful. Remember when they were trendy? Did anybody else have a bent wood rocker? Oh, they were so fun. My husband flattened the rockers by rocking the babies in my rocking chair. The bent wood straightened. But I get this image of a mother holding a baby, and it all looks so sweet and wonderful because it's not really reflecting the long nights without sleep and the difficulties we go through in parenting. And I often think that a better representation of that maternal energy comes from the movie. Remember that movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the first pregnant man? Do you remember that movie? It was such a good movie. It had so many fun things in it because, I mean, he's, bodybuilder and muscly and he does all the shoot 'em up, bang 'em up movies in his past. And now here he's this giant, strong, muscly, pregnant man who, through the course of the movie, begins to express those nurturing devotions, emotions, and what happens with the maternal energy coming. So that's a little more realistic in my world when I'm looking at Mother's Day. And in fact, I looked for some sweet little stories I might be able to share, and I'm just so fussy about it on occasions like this where the world kind of says you have to put your attention in this direction, and I'm the rebel that goes, well, maybe, and maybe I don't. So instead of a sweet story, because they were all so corny, I couldn't bear it, I found a joke that I liked much better than any story. And the joke goes like this. There's a young man, a young adult, and he's gone to the police academy. He's a police recruit, and he's really excited about starting his new career. And he's taking the final exam, and there's a question in the exam that says, What would you do if you found yourself in a situation where you had to arrest your own mother? And he answered quickly. He said, I would immediately call for backup. And that, my friends, is a little more relatable to my world. John O'Donohue, a wonderful Irish poet and a favorite of mine, he wrote, my favorite book he wrote is Anam Cara, about a soul friendship, the way our friends become, we bond with them at the level of the soul. And he writes so beautifully. And he said, to be a parent is to be invited to the natural depth of divine creativity. Mothers and fathers inhabit the secret of God's heart. So I like that. I think that's a beautiful quotation that takes us to that tender side. And today, none of that has much to do with the purpose of my message that I intended before I realized it fell on Mother's Day. The title of my message today is A Song of Joy. So we could say there are joyful moments in parenting, and there also are other moments that are not so joyful. But I took the title of my message for inspiration from Dr. Holmes' book, This Thing Called You. And Holmes said that as you enter into life, feeling the divine presence in everything, when we can do that, he says, more and more you will hear a song of joy singing within you. So as we take that effort to be aware of the presence of God and to practice that ability to sense that divine presence in all things, in our beautiful pets, in our beautiful gardens. Who was showing me? Was that you, Kathy, that had pictures of your freshly pulled garlic? And as we begin to see the divine intelligence in all of those aspects of life and the way they come together to create a sense of wholeness in our living, that helps us to expand the way we start to recognize those divine patterns in other aspects of life as well. And the more that we do that, the more likely we will be able to synchronize our own living to move in that gorgeous flow of life where we not only see it and witness it, but we feel it, and it becomes a gorgeous part of our livingness. And that is what Dr. Holmes is saying. That's when you will hear the song of joy singing inside of you. So everything doesn't have to be perfect in my world, but still, even as I'm experiencing the things that happen in my living, I will always know that anchored at the core of my being is God's sweet joy. I've been thinking all week about, what does that mean to hear the song of joy inside of you? What do I want to say about that? How do we connect to that and use it? And I was thinking how often I'll be teaching a class, and let's say the class is, the theme of the class is to teach people about wholeness, W-H-O-L-E. I love that idea of holistic living as connecting us to the allness of life. And so when I'm trying to teach wholeness, it's hard to tell somebody what it's going to feel like that you are whole. You are perfect, whole, and complete, we say. And sometimes I think that could be confusing to the new student. And so I begin by saying, we might not know what it feels like to be whole, but we can, have an idea of what it feels like to be separated, to be not whole, to feel disconnected. And so that disconnection can be the very thing that leads us back to understanding whole. So when I'm looking at how do I hear that song of joy, what I think of first is that, well, I'm pretty sure when I can't hear joy, or I can't see it or feel it, or I don't feel very peaceful, I don't feel very loving. And those then can be the very things that will help us look at that way. There's an opposite. In spiritual teachings, we talk about the complement, that we live in the world of form, and in form, things do tend to have an opposite. When we begin to embody spiritual truths, we look to see less duality in life, and to see the wholeness, that the presence of God exists everywhere at all times. So perhaps one of the beautiful gifts of choosing to attend a spiritual service on a Sunday morning, or to take a journey in deepening in our own spiritual understanding, perhaps one of the gifts is that it calls us, excuse me, back to centeredness, to groundedness, because we begin to ground ourselves in those bigger and very dynamic spiritual truths. And when you just do that often, if it's a part of your spiritual practice, you notice when you're disturbed, and then you don't have to be undisturbed. You can be disturbed if you want. But if you notice it again and again, and you begin to be more aware of it, then what can be a side benefit is that at some point we begin to sense that we are way more powerful than we ever imagined. In fact, we are powerful beyond our imagination. And that means that when we're living our lives in this world of form, and form is changing constantly, the gift is remembering that our joy and our peace and our well-being in every way is really an inner journey, that there's something in us that is always perfect, whole, and complete. When I wrote my little blog for the newsletter this week, I quoted Vilayat Khan, who is an Indian sitar player and a poet, and he said this wonderful quote. He said, "The only really relevant spiritual question to ask is, why are you not dancing with joy at this very moment?" I'm going to pin that one up on my whiteboard in my office, because I want to be reminded, what a good question. Why are you not dancing for joy at this very moment? I mean, not us. We will get up and dance in a little while. We had some dancing at the beginning, and we like to dance at the end, and we have some people that like to dance in the room, and you put that all together, and it helps us to connect to that place of joy. Because I notice when I'm in a serious mood, when I'm working on a project, or I'm on a deadline and I'm trying to get something done, what happens for me is that I may be enjoying what I'm doing because I like my work, but what happens is I can be so intense on a project that I can really get into it, and I don't even stop to break. And so sometimes when I'm here at the office and people come into my office just to say hello or to tell me they're about to leave the building, I will often take that as an opportunity to stop what I'm doing, and I hear myself say, I really needed a break. Thank you. Thanks for stopping in my office so I could have a moment to refresh myself. And should we get into a little conversation, which also is sort of part of the package, we get to have a little back and forth conversing, and then should there also be a little laughter that comes with that, and it often does, then I notice that I am really transformed, that I have really been refreshed and uplifted by the time that we took to just have a connection, because connection is important. So we know that laughter is very cleansing. And in fact, we know that laughter, a good hearty laugh, enhances your intake of oxygen-rich air. It stimulates your heart and your lungs and your muscles, and it increases the endorphins in your brain. So it's really a really good gift for our overall general well-being. And then I would add that interruptions that create a space for laughter are really healthy interruptions, and I'm always grateful for them. So it's a really relevant question. Why aren't we dancing with joy more often than we actually do? And sometimes it even seems complicated to just hear the song of joy within us. Maybe even feels impossible in certain days with certain experiences we might be moving through. And so when I look at that as a question, why aren't you dancing with joy right now? I think the perfect answer is, it may seem hard right now, but it's not impossible. And that's what I want your takeaway to be today from the time we're investing in sharing these ideas and this message, that there is a way of us understanding that you can't always hear the music, and yet the dance can continue. I have a profound, I just stumbled on some information about a school in Washington, D.C. called the Gallaudet Dance Company. And it is a school for the deaf and the hearing impaired. And they train professional dancers in all sorts of ways. People who have studied at this dance company have become well known in the world as professional dancers, including a ballerina named Simone Wijemode from South Africa, a famous ballerina who can't hear. So how do they do that if they can't hear the music? How can they become professional dancers? And so I dug deep to see, that was a curious question. And what we see is that they learn by counting. They learn through communicating with sign language. They learn primarily by watching the people who can hear the music, by watching them dance. And so the mirrors in the studios help them in a greater way than they would other dancers, because they want to keep their eyes on being in sync with the crowd. They even sometimes bring in percussion instruments that have a strong vibration so that they might have an experience of feeling that in their bodies. The school was established in 1955, and they have graduated, I want to say, 19,000 students in these years. And it remains the only accredited liberal arts university for the deaf and the hearing impaired in the entire world. What a great gift. What a fabulous gift to people who would otherwise miss the glory of music. So it is true that it's harder to dance when you can't hear the music. I'm not musically gifted. I can hear the music. But it's really hard for me to find the beat. I come through that door, I'm looking at you. Don't steer me wrong. Because there's a way that I can't seem to, or I am just one of those people that always dances to the beat of a different drum, or however you say that, which could really be possible. It could just be my nature. But I didn't get the music gene. And what I'm here to say is that has not stopped me from loving music, and I love all kinds of music. I have even in my later years come to love a little rap and country music, things I didn't think I thought there were certain lines I would never cross, but I have. And what I see is I just love music. And I have this wonderful memory of, I believe it was right around 1980. We were living in Northwest Arkansas at the time, and the movie, The Competition, came out. That movie had Richard Dreyfuss and Amy Irving, and anybody remember that movie, The Competition? I know, just us nerds. There's like 3 of us in the whole room. I went back to see that movie 2 or 3 times because I couldn't get enough of the beautiful classical music that was presented in that. And I don't think I knew I loved classical music yet. The movie is about a piano competition, and each of the pianists that has come from all over the world is presenting and competing with a piece of music that is by some famous composer. And they're piano concertos. So you have the whole orchestra and then the pianist. Oh, it was just heavenly, gorgeous movie. And I fell in love with a couple of classical pieces that I would not know otherwise had I not watched that movie more than one time. And one of them is from a Russian composer, Prokofiev. And I can't remember if it was Prokofiev's third or seventh. I don't even know. I don't remember anymore. But my husband took me to Fayetteville, Arkansas, which was about 30 minutes from our house. We lived in Bentonville, yes, with Sam Walton. And yes, he was just a common man that drove a humble truck. And it was quite an interesting experience because we had moved there from California. We'd never heard of Walmart. So he was, so what was Walmart to us then? But anyhow, Hugh took me to Fayetteville, Arkansas, because they had a university and they had a really good music program. And in Fayetteville, Arkansas, there was a record store. And I do say records because at that time you could have records or you could have 8 tracks. We didn't even buy cassettes yet. And so how time changes. Sue Witter is trying to help me figure out how to use what do you call them? iPod? Earbuds. Thank you. See, I don't even know what they're called. So Hugh takes me to the music store, and I'm quite embarrassed that I have no idea how to even find Prokofiev in this big, massive store. And so we asked this young man who was a student at the university, and he was a music major, and he enjoyed working here at the store. And I tell him, that I'm looking for this particular Prokofiev's third or whatever it was. And so he goes, oh, and he takes me over to this section. And then I said, oh, but I have no idea about different orchestras. Would you just help me pick one out? And he helps me pick one out, and he gives me the record. And now I'm holding it, and I'm so excited. And I can't wait to go home and just listen to the whole thing with no distractions. Ha, ha, ha. I had 4 kids under 6 years old. But I couldn't wait till they went to bed, and I could put this record on and listen to it. And I said to my husband while we're at the cash register and the young man is helping us out, I said, I can't wait to go home and play this. And the kid at the cash register stopped and he looked at me and he said, you can play Prokofiev? And I went, oh, I mean on my stereo. To me it was a no-brainer. I'm buying the record because I want to hear it, but not so I can play it. So he couldn't have been further from the reality, but boy, his eyes lit up, and so then I knew this must be something magnificent. So I know we all, isn't it interesting, we really have different tastes in music, and we all can't dance, we all can't play an instrument, but that song of joy within us can still be tapped into. And it's not just about music. We're using music as the metaphor today because it's relatable. But life gets hectic, and I don't think that we ever intend to block the flow of energy in our bodies in a way that we know it's going to make us be unhappy. I don't think we do that on purpose. But when we can correct that and we can get back into the flow of life, then we open ourselves to the opportunity of an experience of that song of joy within us, because something inside of us shifts when we get into that zone. That song of joy becomes an energetic vibration inside of us that lifts us, that invigorates us. And in a way, I always feel like it sort of carries me. Doesn't music carry you? Isn't it interesting how we can have a profound experience of connection to a piece of music? So we open to that flow because we have found the divine current of life, which is what we are talking about all year this year. We're talking about this is the way that we change our world in a very personal approach. Dr. Ernest Holmes left a great amount of very instructive advice. Here's a quote that's useful. He says, "Before we can be happy, something has to happen to us that causes us to know that right where we are, God is." And then he goes on to say, something has to happen to us that reminds us that God is the final power. And something has to happen that proves to us again that love itself is an all-conquering force. Powerful message here. Something has to happen. So what if this something that has to happen looks like it's something that's out of order, or something that's broken, or something that's not working in our lives? Maybe the something that's happening is how much we're worrying over some tiny aspect of our life or the bigger world at large. Something has to happen. These are instructions. I'm taking it like really good advice from a wise human. And sometimes that something comes packaged as a difficulty. And this is why we should not be so quick to judge what's good and bad or right and wrong. Things will seem out of order in our lives as a communication to us that there's a way we can seek a better order, that there are things that can be reordered in our own little world, in the way that we're showing up, or the way that we're behaving, and the choices that we're making. It's always a call for us to come back to truth, and again, to be centered and anchored again in the truth that God is right here, right where I am. So here's what I have been thinking. If you can't hear the song of joy, mimic the lesson of the deaf dancers. Watch those people who can. Use that witness consciousness and be willing to see that other people are in that zone. I think that if we watch the pleasure that other people get from finding that song within themselves, it might ignite something within us. I even think that it might be a great challenge, plug your ears, Sue Witter. It might be a great challenge to go watch karaoke somewhere. Did I tell you to plug your ears? Go watch karaoke, and you make a decision that you are not there to judge the level of skill of the person that has had the courage enough to take the mic and sing a song that they're dying to sing, but to witness their joy, to witness the pleasure, or to witness them overcoming their fear of doing something in public that's brazen. It's a brazen choice, just to have the experience. So witness. See if you can just witness other people who do hear that song of joy and who can do maybe the things that we cannot do. Because the truth is, there have always, at all times, and there always will be individuals who are able to see, to witness, to maybe not even have it, but to be aware of it. And all through all of time, there have been holy ones who have used music as a part of their worship. I read this week, and this is a kind of a startling revelation for me personally. Maybe it will be for you too. But there are some theologians that say that the Bible verse that says, "And the Word became flesh in the world," there are those theologians that are tying that in with meaning that there are always some people who can see that, who can see the way that God shows up in form on this planet. Heaven and earth, the vertical and the horizontal, and in no way is God absent from any of it. So there have always been holy people who can see God in the flesh. We can see it, some people see it in nature. Some people witness it in relationships. Some people can recognize it in just the way events turn in a positive way in their everyday living. We want to be able to see that in humanity because that's the flesh and the blood and the breath and the way heaven comes to earth. And the Word became flesh. This is a reference to things in form. And on the earth, there is that maternal principle that is honored this day, on Mother's Day. There is that maternal principle that is that nurturing, giving, loving expression of God's love that is always unfolding. So from that perspective of the maternal principle, then the rest of that scripture says, out of it we were born, and from it we find sustenance. Out of it, we come from the dust of the earth. You know, we come from this substance of physical form, and we will only be in form for a given period of time. And in it is all that we all come from, that same maternal substance. The Father, Mother, God, Creator, the Creator of all of life. So when Dr. Holmes instructs us to be attentive to these things, before we can be happy, he said, something has to happen. Something has to happen that causes us to know that God is right here, right where we are, right here, right now. The full presence of God is already active. And that God is the final power. Goodness is that final power, and that love is an all-conquering force. In fact, it is the greatest force in the universe. I want to end this morning with a contemporary poet, Mary Oliver, who wrote a poem in which she said, "These are the instructions for living." Do you remember what she said? Some of you know her, I know. She said, it's very simple, 3 things. Pay attention. Be astonished. And then talk about it. Isn't that good? So pay attention, look for joy, look to see or feel that song of joy. And in those moments when you have heard it and you know you've heard it and it's moving around inside of you, or you have witnessed it, you are just watching somebody else have an experience of that joy. Don't take it lightly. She says, be astonished, be amazed. Don't take it for granted, and be grateful. And then spread the word. Spread the word, talk about it, proclaim it, say, I know that God is good, for I have just seen and I have heard the song of joy. And that's what I wanted to say today. All right, so let's take a breath. Take a holy breath. And for a moment, we simply sit wherever it is that we are right now. And we quiet our minds. And we begin to sense the song of joy within. I feel the love of God within me. And I know that it is the same love that abides at the very center of every living being. And so, in this awareness, in this renewal of familiar ideas, we recognize that there is a song of life. It is a song of joy. It is that part of our living in which we recognize that there is a great presence, a wisdom that is at the core of every living atom and molecule of life. And that if we could see the dance of those atoms and those molecules, we would see the infinite intelligence of this universe. We would see what divine order looks like. We would sense that we have a place in this movement of life, and that the activity of God is the very wisdom that keeps us in sync with the current of life, with the movement of all humanity, in the ways in which we are connected. And we would not feel threatened when we recognize the disconnections. We would see that it is only an invitation. It is that way that sometimes things happen that call us back to truth. So this day, in this remembrance, we are reawakening to greater awareness of that movement of perfection in our own being. That there is something that is perfect and whole and complete. There is an intelligence within us that when our own molecules get discombobulated, there is an instinct for them to return to a better order, to a perfect order, to the revealing of wholeness and health and wellness. So we align ourselves to this great eternal truth. Things happen and then they pass, and then a greater sense of wholeness is revealed. So what that means is that right in this very moment, if there is anything that feels out of order in our own personal lives, if there is any physical ailment or any relationship that feels strained, we simply recognize that there too is the presence of God. And in God there has to be goodness. There has to be that all-powerful, conquering love. And so we are healed. We are restored to our wholeness. We feel the movement of that joy within us. We find a way to do that dance of life in beautiful rhythm with everyone else. So we are unique, and yet we are part of something even more magnificent that involves a multitude, and all of it is divine. And so with great intention this day, we allow ourselves to recognize that spark of joy that is God when we look out on others. We allow ourselves to hear the music, to hear the song, to feel the dance moves within us, and to not hold back. For indeed, life is to be celebrated this day and every day. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, infinite Spirit, for all of this understanding, this renewal, this uplifting. We release the words of this prayer into that dynamic law, knowing indeed in the mind of God it is done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Amen.
Grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful. Grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see,
Thank you, Bradfords. And thank you, Reverend Karen. Boy, it is always a good thing to remember to have that song of joy in our hearts, huh? And hear it, listen to it, dance to it. Makes life so much more fun. But karaoke is optional. See, I had to work really hard to go, and drunkenness usually goes with it, people. Don't kid yourself, but not always. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, so it is time for our joyful giving. We have a place to put your gift if you're bringing it in person in the box by Papke Hall, one in the back or one out at Home Space in the bookstore. And even if you don't have your gift with you today, just put your hand on your heart and allow yourself to say this joyful giving with me, knowing that your gift is embodied with all of this. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Take it away.
Please rise for our last song. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. And put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. And sing it. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. It feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. It feels so good to be alive. It feels so good to be alive. One more time. It feels so good to be alive.
All right, please repeat after me. I hear the song of joy in my heart. I see it dancing all around me. And I celebrate life. And so it is. Join us for Dining with the Dudes.